Hello, it's Maggie, the Cheshire Crafter here. Now, Happy New Year to you. It might be mid-January, but this is the first proper video I've done for crafting since before Christmas, really. Now, it was my intention to complete a flying geese quilt ready for my brother for Christmas, and I'm nowhere near finishing it. I'm just part way through the topper at the moment. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the fabric pull that I did, my selection of fabrics, and where I'm up to with that quilt. It's the first time I've done flying geese. Now, I did put a small, like 1-minute video out to make the maths a little bit easier. And if you'd like to refer back to that, I did that about Christmas Eve, I think. And so we'll go into the kitchen and take a look at my fabrics and see where I'm up to. I have warned him that he might get this in time for his July birthday, if he's lucky. Now, I've also not been very well since the new year, and I'm going to do a video on crafting with illnesses or disabilities and using some tools to get around the problems that we might have at that point. So look out for the uploading of that one too. Meanwhile, I'm really glad to get back to my sewing machine and some stress-free quilting. So come into the kitchen with me and we'll see how we get on. So this will be the first of a series of videos before I complete this quilt. In this video then, I'm going to be talking about creating flying geese as a beginner. Our next video, I'll follow up by looking at how to cut directional print fabric so that it looks correct and in the right orientation using the one at a time method. Come back and see me for that, won't you? This is my selection of fabrics. It's all 100% cotton and it's all been recycled from men's shirts. I've got a variety of texture. I've got a variety of dark, medium and light. I've got a variety of floral and stripes and dots and stars. Most of all, I've got 3 floral fabrics that are directional, that I'm going to show you in particular why I chose that for this quilt, because the quilt is going to be based around those 3 main fabrics. I'm not sure if I've got enough of this one. I'm going to have to see how much fabric I use on each piece. Let me show you then those 3 fabrics. I don't think I had enough dark fabrics for contrast, so I've added this one in, which is a floral, and I've taken one of the stripes out, and that way I get a better mix. If I haven't got enough of the stars, I've added it in. This is just from the around the shoulders, but the colour is correct, so I'm going to do a row with those 2 together, I hope. Some of them look quite similar though, don't they? Men's short sleeve shirt section, it's not easy to say, in the charity shops, but as you can see they've all got directional prints. Now the stripes have as well. When I look at the flying geese design tutorials, they don't take into account the directional prints, and I'm going to have to here, otherwise it's going to look silly. These are going to be the main purpose of making this quilt. The rest are just added in. I think he's going to like this. And because I've not done flying geese before, I'm going to be doing a 1 at a time method. I'm not sure whether you can do a 4 at a time method with directional prints. Take care with that, won't you? And I'm going to use some scrap fabric first to try on. Please note that I did all this cutting with the rotary cutter before Christmas, not when I was poorly in the new year. This shirt, I've taken the 2 shirt fronts and I've ironed it. Now, as a rule of thumb, I'm going to need to get a 6.5 inch across. And, ooh, look, I'm just at 6.5 inch there. So I'm going to go up as high as I can. And then if I flip the ruler over, that's 1, 2, 3 times at least. I'm going to get 6, I think, out of my 6.5 by 3.5 inch sizes from each side. So 2 fronts will give me sufficient for 12 rectangles for the row. So I'll square up on the bottom until I get the first point that I can get 6.5 inches out of it. This edge is a straight line. About the easy rule is they're 6.5 inches wide, so I'm going to cut as far up as I can. Once I had my 6.5 inch long strip, I was able to cut it into small pieces 3.5 inches wide. So each row takes 12 6.5 by 3.5 inch rectangles, 24 3.5 inch squares, and 3 6.5 inch squares, and I choose to use my white as my fabric B. All of my printed fabrics will always be fabric A. I've cut 36 6.5 inch squares of 100% white cotton using my rotary cutter and my easy square rulers. For 12 rows, I'm going to need a total of 288 of these 3.5 inch squares. My kitchen at my Singer heavy duty machine, and I've changed the needle from the last project to a 9014 by Singer, was one that came with the machine. I've got a Silco thread. This is a 50 weight Silco mercerized thread. The colour is D58. I call it a lovely powder blue, and I've got the same in the top and in the bobbin. Because I was doing work with wadding that gave off a lot of lint, I've cleaned out the bobbin and the needle and the presser foot with my lint brush. My needle position is in the midline and my stitch length is on 2.5. Right, let's start stitching. You'll see I'm using my normal presser foot, and I always have my 1/4 inch guide and my little magnetic guide to help me. It's important I get accurate seam widths on this quilt. Checked my tension on a spare piece of fabric and it's fine, front and back, and I'm going to use this as a leader and ender for my sewing project because I'm going to sew a point. To mark my fabric, I'm going to use an erasable ink pen by Talon. I'm going to mark each 3.5 inch square across on the diagonal, corner to corner. This will be my stitch line, like that. I'm going to sew my fabrics right side together. This is more noticeable when you've got a patterned cotton. And then I've pinned the first square on the left side, and I'm going to sew right across the diagonal. So I'm going to turn it upside down and offer it to the machine that way. For doing this as a beginner is use a header, because you're coming in on a point and you don't want your fabric to bunch at that point. Try and maintain a straight line and aim down for this pink line going through. Don't use your most precious fabric, because if you develop your skill on your least precious fabric, you're not wasting your precious fabric. And take it slowly. I'll fold it back and press. You can finger press or iron. Then on the reverse, we're going to trim the excess close to that stitch line, about 1/4 inch, and I'll end up with lots of little half square triangles ready cut. fold that fabric back and then repeat it on the right side. From the corner, I'm going to pin it and I'm going to sew from here to here. The fabric here will then overlap. Repeat, fold it back, finger press and cut off the excess to one side. Now, as we look at that flying geese, we'll see an overlap, and it's the right overlaps the left. If I'm then going to turn this in a direction, I need to consider the direction that this fabric's going in if I've got a directional fabric. But I need to leave at least 1/4 of an inch here so I don't cut off that point. And I think I've got that there. Here are the ones that I completed then before Christmas. You can see I've done the darks, the 4 different designs, and they really look a good contrast against the white fabric. Now, once they're pressed, they lie flat. I don't have a clapper or a wool mat, but I'm quite happy with how flat I've got these. For each fabric, I've done 12 flying geese. And you can see now I've worked on the mediums. And when I said I might not have enough of the star fabric, I didn't. What I did do is I substituted with that paisley, so the colour will look right, but the pattern is slightly different. Now, the quilt police aren't going to come to my house and tell me off about that. When we look at the overall design of the quilt, nobody's going to really notice. And I'm now going to be working on my mediums and my stripes before I start cutting into that Hawaiian print fabric. My light prints are floral and this abstract floral, and I'm going to use a stripe for the first time. So now I need to start looking at a directional print, and I think I want the stripe to go horizontally. I need to consider that when I cut this fabric, and I'll show you how I did that. This video is getting a bit long, so I'm going to do another video talking about flying geese with directional prints in a part 2 of this video, and I'll be looking at this striped fabric and those Hawaiian print fabrics. So come back and join me for that, won't you? For now, this is Maggie, the Cheshire Crafter. Come back and see me soon, won't you? Don't forget to like and subscribe and to watch out for the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.